This is Surrey LGBTQ Online and The Proud Show with me, Stephen Ireland, and our special host, as always,
Morgan.
Hello, Morgan. How are you
Hello.
today?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much once again for joining me. Morgan, how's your first week out with the community been?
It's been good. It's been quite quiet today, this week. It's still a lot of me just settling into the job, but it's been good. It's been really good.
Excellent. So just to kind of recap before we crack on with the show, Morgan took on the challenge of applying for our community engagement role, which is all about being out there, listening to kind of the heartbeat of the LGBTQ plus community and the allies, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is about it's. I see this job as really as kind of listening and being that link between us and the community that we all represent. So that's definitely what I'm listening and learning.
Excellent stuff. And obviously, this week has been the Trans Visibility Week. Why is that so important, Morgan?
I think it's really important because, as I said last week, so for so long, the trans community has been left by the wayside, really, as part of the wider LGBTQ plus movement. So I think it is really important that we do actually take the time to actually focus on our trans brothers and sisters, and actually we say we want to hear your stories, we want to hear your point of view, and it's not just for the 1 week. It really has to be. Pride is all year round, as so is fighting for trans equality. But I think this, when we have that kind of the Trans Visibility Week, it is about highlighting them prominently that week. Yeah.
Most definitely. And the week ends typically with the Transgender Day of Remembrance on the 20th of November. Now, the Transgender Day of Remembrance, otherwise known as TDAW, was started in 1999 by transgender advocate Gwendolyn Ann Smith as a vigil to honour the memory of Rita Hester, who was a transgender woman killed in 1998. The vigil commemorated all of the transgender people lost to violence since Rita Hester's death, and began an important tradition that has become an annual Transgender Day of Remembrance. Now, unfortunately, this year we saw over 200 victims of violent crime, which took those spirits from us, and it is just so tragic to hear that shocking number, with majority, actually 33% of them, coming from Brazil. I want to get your thoughts on that, Morgan. Obviously, few numbers here in the UK, but still numbers nonetheless. And of course, there shouldn't be any inequality. But there are significant numbers in Brazil. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It could be. I think the political environment in Brazil is really difficult for minority groups, not just trans people, not just the LGBTQ plus community, but wider in terms of minority groups. The political situation, the societal situation there is really difficult. So it is this outburst of social conservatism, which is kind of, and it's become a violent response to the mere existence of trans people and the mere existence of gay people and the mere existence of any other minority person. I think it is a real, it's so kind of saddening and kind of overwhelming when you hear of these crimes that have taken place. And I do think it is, you find them in countries where there hasn't been as much progress, or that country is experiencing a turn away from the progress that it's made in the recent past. We only need to look at places like Poland and countries like that, where they're making these LGBTQ safe zones, which it's thus this. And it's that sounds like an LGBT safe zone is something that in the UK would be a safe zone for that community, but it's not. It's these communities which have been whipped up by this hatred, and it's this violent turn towards these minority groups. And it's the only thing I can think of is that people are being whipped up by hatred and rhetoric by people who should know better.
Most definitely, yes, and it comes from above. MPs, politicians, people
Yes.
that have money, of course. They have an opportunity to do something right, and of course, when you see, famous authors and actors and actresses supporting a trans exclusionary radicalist view, it goes to show that that actually does have a potential impact, not only
Yeah.
on the mental health and well-being, but also the learnings of youngsters who then think it's okay to mock that individual, throw things at that individual or whatever. And it's absolutely disgusting. Biden has actually marked this year as the deadliest year on record for transgender people all around the planet. President Joe Biden marked Transgender Day of Remembrance in a statement on Saturday, paying tribute to those that they lost in America as transgender Americans. In a statement shared with CNN, Biden also remembered the countless other transgender people, disproportionately black and brown transgender women and girls who face brutal violence, discrimination, and harassment. On Friday, the White House marked the day with the vigil within a diplomatic room of the White House, hosted by Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. They had a number of things going on over there. But what did Boris Johnson do? That is what I want to know. Is it still too early? I mean, obviously, we're recording this on Transgender Day of Remembrance. It is now this time at 4:30. Nothing coming in or hitting the news just yet. Anything, Morgan?
No, I've seen nothing. I've seen nothing from the UK government on this, and I think it's quite an example of the turn that the UK government has taken, even in the last couple of years. Even under a prime minister such as Theresa May, there was continued movement forward. And for all of her faults, she was, I believe, actually quite committed to seeing genuine reform for transgender people as well. And I think it's under this current government, it's this turning away from the progress that we have made as an entire society, as the United Kingdom as well. It's not just the community of the LGBTQ plus community, the trans community. It is, this government seems to be opposed, kind of, not just opposed, but against a true equality for our entire community. We only need to look at the Equalities Minister, Liz Truss, say, like, calling for all government departments to abandon the Stonewall diversity inclusion scheme, but it's the Equalities Office that just seems to be unbothered by the plight that we are facing.
And these people, these are people in power. These are people that, can really manipulate a system or a regime that will damage individuals' lives. We've got to remember, right? It's our right to live as who we wish. It's our right to wake up in the morning and put the pants on that we wear, the socks on that we wear, the trousers, everything that we wear and do, hair, whatever, makeup. It's up to us. So if we can do that, why can't we live free? Why can't we be ourselves? Why can't we be happy in our own skin? And of course, this is all our trans, non-binary and intersex siblings want, that our community want. This is all they want. They want the ability to say, I am a female and I am who I am and I'm proud. They don't need somebody then, a bigot. That's all they are, a bigot. Then telling them, well, you're not a woman, you're somebody, wearing a dress. That's it. That is absolutely disgusting and disgraceful behaviour. And of course, last week we touched upon the Surrey Police Crime Commissioner giving her personal views. But this is so far greater and far bigger than that. With an MP this week also calling out Stonewall in the Houses of Parliament, again, trying to diminish the great work that they have done as a charity. And we've got to remember, everything started at the Stonewall win all those years ago, where Marsha P. Johnson was at the front line, throwing a brick and starting that riot and being that catalyst towards the Pride movement. So we owe a great deal to a transgendered person of colour. And we need to put our hands up now as gay men, lesbian women, bisexual men, whoever you are, and go, right, we are standing with our trans and non-binary and intersex siblings, and we are going to support them like they supported and stood for us and our equality, because everybody deserves the right to live free. Sorry, I'm going on, but I'm so passionate about this. No, Morgan, did you want to add anything on that? I mean, obviously,
I'm exactly the same. I've said it before, I've said it multiple times. I firmly believe that our community's success in securing the rights that we now have, especially as a gay man, I have significantly more rights than a trans person does. And that, I believe, is through the effort of our entire community. And far too often it has been trans people, trans women of colour mainly, that have been holding us up and lifting us up. And you know what? It's time for our community to actually reach down and bring them up with us. It's time for our entire community to stand together. Just because gay men and lesbians and bisexual men and bisexual women have taken that step forward, can't forget those people that we are leaving behind. It is imperative for our entire community to stand together. And I think the point you're talking when you're making about politicians and the decisions they make, I think the country that we are in at the moment is so divided politically, socially, almost culturally, and it's no longer the Conservative Party no longer feel they need to appeal to the lefty liberals. This is what their opinion is: the lefty liberals, the gay people, because they no longer need them. It's far more successful for them to use a dog whistle to attack trans people because they know it will show up their own base of supporters. But it's what I was saying and what you've said, Stephen. This is our life. This is not just some abstract issue that we're debating in terms of policy. This is the actual lives of actual people. And
that's right. This is it. You know, we've got to go back now 18 years. Section 28, right? You know, Section 28 was a legislative, I can't get that word out, designation for a series of laws across Britain that prohibited the promotion of homosexuality by local authorities. So no TV organisations, no schools, no police force. Nobody could talk about LGBT people, or specifically lesbian and gay people, because at that time they weren't even talking about bisexuality. And they weren't allowed to talk about it. They weren't allowed to kind of showcase it or give it any kind of thought. And of course, I'm living in that shadow because I grew up through that period of time. I grew up with, when I did come out, people going, oh, look, he's one of them, you know, because according to them, there weren't that many because it wasn't promoted. So what we're going to have is we're going to have another situation, aren't we? We're going to have something similar to that if we carry on for those individuals that are trans, non-binary, intersex.
Absolutely we are. And I remember I was at school during Section 28, and I remember as a young gay person terrified of the unknown, not sure what I was, and there was no one I could talk to because it was, and I know that there are always people, and I know people that say, oh, it wasn't that bad. And actually it was. As a gay person, as a young gay man at school, I was terrified of asking a question because I knew that they wouldn't talk about it. So I didn't talk about it. And I do think the Section 28, which, let's remind everyone, wasn't repealed until 2005.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that long ago that it was actually repealed. It was 6 years into, or more than 6 years into the Labour government that it was actually repealed. So it was a stain on our history, on our country, I think, because all it did not protect anyone, as they always said it was for, but what it did was silenced a generation of LGBT people, and that's what we are still struggling to deal with now. The ramifications of Section 28 still linger. It's an entire generation of gay people probably didn't come out of the closet early enough for when they were comfortable, so now it's still dealing with that. And that's why it makes me so happy that I see so many younger people now so much more confident to come out of the closet. Teenagers that are trans coming forward and actually asking questions and exploring these feelings that they have inside them. And I think that is essential.
And it's good for their mental health and well-being. They're able to openly and freely speak about it and get the relevant support that's needed. Of course, there are charities out there. We've got to remember that there's Mermaid Charity. And you can find out more about mermaids at mermaids.org.uk. Right, we spoke lots and lots about that. We do have to say that Pride in Surrey, the whole team and I stand 100% alongside the trans, non-binary and intersex community, not just for one day, not just for 1 week. We are standing with you in solidarity, and we will campaign with you at protests, and we will do all we can to get behind a social movement that fights for equity, equality and the inclusion of trans, intersex, and non-binary individuals. That's my 2 pennies worth. Right, the next story is a positive story from Air Malta. Hitting the news, it's confirmed that Air Malta is to drop gender-specific language when addressing passengers. The airline is scrapping phrases such as "welcome, ladies and gentlemen," in favour of more inclusive language such as "attention, all passengers." Staff will also be encouraged to refer to passengers as guests and other more universal terms in a bid to help trans, non-binary and intersex people feel comfortable on flights. The airline has announced this and, of course, are rolling that out through their diversity and equity and core values at Air Malta programme. Gendered terms to be left behind on the tarmac, says Air Malta. And they've said the David Kermai, who is the Air Malta executive chairman, said this is an absolutely really imperative, important value, and that we want to express this attitude and shift onto our staff to support those individuals. What do you think there? I think this is absolutely fantastic. Morgan, what are your views?
So do I. I think it's great. And I love that line of leaving the gender terms on the tarmac. I think that's such a clever line for that airline to use. And what I was reading through this story earlier, and what I was really hit by was the number of airlines that are already doing this as well. It's like Japanese Airlines, EasyJet, Air Canada, Qantas. So Air Malta is not alone in this, and I think it's great that Air Malta are doing this as well, and all the other airlines doing it. And hopefully this leads to the end product of being able to book tickets without having to have a gender designation on that, because why is that really important for a ticket to have male or female on there? Because if you're just a passenger, you're a passenger. So I think it's great. I think
definitely
more power to Air Malta, really, and I hope more airlines follow suit.
There we go. Well, let's hopefully that all takes flight with other airlines. See what I did there? They talked about leaving it on this tarmac. I'm talking about taking flight. The local carrier joins a raft of other airlines to adopt gender-neutral greetings, such as the Japanese Airlines EasyJet, Air Canada, and Australia's Qantas, who was the first carrier to do so when it launched its Spirit of Inclusion initiative in 2018. They've also cut out words such as honey, love, and guys, who are banned, and they use partner, spouse, or parents instead. Well, there you go. Absolutely fantastic. US airlines such as Delta, JetBlue, United, and American Airlines announced jointly in 2019 that they will allow passengers to book flights without specifying a binary gender. There you go, Morgan. So in America, they've started to do that. Will we move away from putting our gender on our birth certificates or potentially actually passports and ID more than anything? That is the question. We'll have to wait and see what happens to that development in the months to come.
Yes.
Right. So 5 ways that you can show up for the trans, non-binary and intersex siblings. We will be back in a short while, just after this.
Hi, my name's Bethany Rose. I'm a spoken word poet, and I talk a lot about what it feels like to have mental health issues, to not feel yourself, to feel sad, and to feel alone. I know that sometimes it's really difficult to reach out, but Pride in Surrey are offering a service where you can just text talk to 88440, and there'll be somebody on the end of the line to help you with whatever you need. And we all want you to remember that you are not alone.
You are not alone, indeed. Right, so we're going to be talking about now some ways that you can, well, show up for the trans community, non-binary and intersex siblings, and of course make sure that you're showing respect and love to all. We're going to talk about some ideas that we may have in just a moment. Before I do so, some more news in on the Biden situation. So there is talk now of more policies that they're going to be putting in place over in America to protect those that are transgender, especially those that are people of colour. So we'll keep you up to date on that here on The Proud Show and LGBTQ Online as and when that news comes in. So it isn't hard, as you might think, to be supportive and respectful for somebody that's non-binary, intersex, or trans. And of course, there are many different ways that you can show your love and support. So I thought that me and Morgan really should kind of come up with 5 off-the-fly ways that people can potentially show their support and love to individuals. So I was going to start by saying talk to people that are non-binary, intersex, or trans, and learn more about who they are as individuals. Don't be scared to approach that conversation. Have an open conversation. Don't ask questions like, what was your name before, if they have changed their name, but more open questions, allowing them to give you more of their story. Because the more you learn about somebody, the easier it will become to be able to then address them in the right way and obviously support them through potentially a transition or a challenging time where they might be quite curious and trying to learn about or more about themselves. So that's my first one. Morgan, what about yourself?
My first one is that you don't have to understand what it means for someone to be non-binary to respect them. It's allow them to explain it to you if they wish to. But if someone says they're non-binary, it's almost just, it's a level of respect. Just accept it. And if you have any further more general questions, feel free to ask, because it's of all the trans, non-binary, and intersex people I've spoken to, they actually are happy to explain it in a very, very kind of general way. But it's you don't have to understand what it means in order to be able to respect them. I think that's the first one I would say.
Most definitely, yes. I would say advocate for policies in your workplace or community work groups and things like that. So if there aren't policies in place, or if they are being reviewed at the moment, maybe safeguarding policies and things, advocate for policies that are inclusive of trans, intersex, and non-binary individuals, because that's important. It's important for people to be able to live, dress, and be who they are, and have their gender respected at work or at school or in a public place, in a community group like a scout hall or whatever it might be. So I would say be an ally, get behind those friendly policies and show your love and support. Morgan, over to you.
Yes, so it's try not to make assumptions about people's gender. It can be rather easy to do that, make that assumption, but make that concerted effort to actually not assume just because someone may be male presenting that they are a gendered male. As I think along with that is to use the name that a person asks you to use. So it's to make no assumptions and to ask their name and then to use that name. If someone says, my name is Morgan or my name is Susan, use that name. You don't have to then go, well, you don't look like a Susan. You wouldn't say that to somebody else. It's the level of respect. If someone says something, respect their decision.
Absolutely. And I would just close off by saying, it takes a lot of guts for somebody to come out and be true to themselves and be who they want to be. Please understand that for somebody that is intersex, non-binary, or trans, trying to figure out which bathroom they can use is already challenging enough. So please don't challenge them. Show them the love and support. And of course, if you see anybody experiencing any form of hate crime or any kind of thing untoward, please do report it. And you can do that here in Surrey by downloading the Stop Hate UK Surrey app that's available in all good app stores. And that's endorsed by Surrey Police. That's Stop Hate UK Surrey. You can search that in all good app stores. So that is it from me for that. Morgan, do you have anything else to say on that?
I think it's also going along with the using the name that someone asks you to use. It's also to use the pronouns that they wish to be used as well. If someone says, these are my pronouns, please respect that. It goes back to the point I made. It's not really for you to understand. It's just for you to respect that decision. If someone says my pronouns are they them, my pronouns are she her, it just please just respect their decision. That is essentially, this is the easiest way to bring all of these together, is respect the person that's in front of you. Don't make assumptions, and just respect the decisions that they have made.
Most definitely. Thank you, Morgan, for that. Of course, just to clarify, obviously, we this week have celebrated and recognised transgender visibility, and it's really important that we continue to recognise that within the LGBTQ plus community, there are so many different gender diverse individuals, and we should just literally respect and love each other for whoever they want to be. And of course, reminder that we spoke about the Stop Hate UK Surrey app, and of course we want to call out that as the charity of the week this week, so we do have a video. But before we do, Morgan, any closing words on the things that we spoke about today?
Yes, I think as we are discussing trans visibility, I think it really is important that as a community and our allies, it's we've kind of already addressed it in the show, is being visible and being respectful of that person that is in front of you and the people that are around you. So as a community, we all need to come together and stand in solidarity. And if you're an ally, please get involved. It's, as a community, we need our allies to be strong vocally. We are a small community. The LGBTQ plus community is small, but we have a strong voice. But with our allies, we are stronger even more. So please get involved and stand all together.
That's right. So if your workplace has some kind of policy or something in place, a group that you can get involved in, get involved and show your support. Because you're wearing a rainbow lanyard, it doesn't mean you're LGBTQ plus. And of course, every employer now says that, you can be an ally and be part of those. And actually, allies make fantastic individuals in those groups, because they are then kind of a clear page. They can ask different questions that potentially I wouldn't even think of. As a Pride organizer, I still got questions about the LGBTQ plus community. And of course, it's such a diverse group that we belong to. And of course, we have to recognize that intersectionality within there as well. Just to confirm, British Airways have actually dropped their pronouns, so the gender neutral greetings have been launched at British Airways now as well, coming in. That was basically all the airlines jumping on the bandwagon. I think it's because it's good news, it's great news, and it's reflecting the diversity of the countries that they're visiting, which is absolutely fantastic. So
also, I just want to add in one thing as well, and it was great with Air Malta, but it's also to highlight that Malta is one of the most LGBTQ plus friendly countries that you can visit as well. So if you are looking for somewhere to go on holiday, go to Malta.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And a really good story, I will call this out, in Pink News. 10 brilliant, bold and brave trans people who made waves in 2021. I wanted to just very quickly go through some of them. Precious Brady Davis, she's her, absolutely fantastic. She was a trans activist working with the grassroots environmental organisation, the Sierra Club, over in the States. You've got Sean Fay, she, her. She was part of the an Argument for Justice book, the transgender issue. You've got Quinn, they, them. Quinn was obviously part of the Tokyo Summer Olympics. Absolutely fantastic. There's so many different people. Please do go and check that story out. I could be here all day. Go and check it out at pinknews.co.uk. A shout out to them this week, because this story is absolutely fantastic. And another individual that I saw on here that I just thought was absolutely fantastic is, and I can't even say it, I'll just say Rodriguez, she, her. She's in the amazing hit TV show from Pose. Absolutely incredible. She's absolutely gorgeous as well. I'm showing a picture on LGBTQ online, but absolutely stunning. What an incredible actress. And the scenes that I have seen in the first two seasons that I've watched, mind blowing. I mean, obviously you think, the show that we had over in the UK was good. This just blows it out the water. But it's a very similar premise, that it covers the HIV pandemic over in the States. But that's it from us this week. Thanks so much, everybody. Much love from me, Stephen Ireland, and him,
Morgan.
We've got to give him a more glamorous name. Can I change the name for the show? Morgana.
You can use my drag name if you want.
Morgana. Oh no, because Morgana was the Morgana Show. Can you remember that? An old TV show many moons ago, and there was a comedian. It's called the Morgana Show.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, Morgana or something. I don't know. Anyway, right. That's enough from us. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.